This is Primal the Awakening, a boss battler where 1 to 4 players take control of hunters out to slay a gargantuan beast. Primal was sent to me by the team at Reggie Games with one simple instruction. Play it wrong. Do something weird. Create a challenge. Once I got it on the table, I started thinking, should I try to take out the biggest, baddest dragon with only starting gear? Should I try to get through an entire campaign using no healing potions? As I played, I pondered. Every game, my secret mission in the back of my head. In every game I played, I kept coming back to one thing. As fun as it was to hunt these monsters, how incredible would it be to be the monsters? I mean, you shoot arrows at them, you hit them with hammers, but don't you want to know what it feels like to rip apart those pesky hunters with your claws? To chomp down on those smug faces? I think I've got some anger I need to work out. But before we can talk about my one versus all variant, let me tell you how this game is supposed to work. At the start of the game, all player minis are in the same sector, and the big bad beastie faces that sector. One player is randomly assigned the aggro token, which generally refers to the player that currently has the monster's attention. Every round starts with the consume phase, where players can drink a potion to heal themselves, buff themselves, draw cards, all sorts of things. Then monster upkeep. We'll talk about behaviors later, but you'll discard whichever monster behavior card has the lowest number and replace it. After that, the monster gains 1 struggle token per player, which is a resource the monster will use to make its actions even more deadly. Lucky monster. When I gain struggle, all I get is another therapy bill. Once that's all done, the player with the aggro token will also take the first player token. Everyone starts with 5 cards in their hand, which is also the number of cards that you will draw up to at the end of your turn. Before playing any cards out, you'll have the opportunity to move. To do that, just discard any card from your hand and move your mini to an adjacent sector. With only 4 sectors on the board, the spot you're standing in matters a great deal. As the battle rages on, the monster will go through different phases, which may change the sectors that you can attack them from. For example, in Viraxen's first phase, he's protecting his flanks and is only vulnerable when you attack his head or his booty. If you choose not to move, then you become threatened, which means the monster can more easily make you have a bad day. Once you've moved, or not, and taken a threatened token, it's time to play some cards out of your hand and make this monster feel some pain. Red and blue cards are both offensive. Red cards deal damage, while blue cards remove struggle tokens. Green and yellow cards are defensive, and unlike red and blue cards, which have an inherent effect, green and yellow cards don't inherently do anything, but they do make it harder for the monster to try to hit you, which it will do at the end of each of your turns. The cost to play a card is listed in the top left-hand corner in stamina. To pay this cost, just discard cards from your hand with enough stamina, which is listed in the bottom left-hand corner. First, I'm going to play this red Jumping Slice card, paying this blue, which has 1 stamina. Every red card's base effect is to deal the damage listed on your weapon, in this case, 4. Then, this red card also says if you paid with a blue card, increase the damage this attack deals by 3 times your weapon level. We are playing on level 1, so that is 3 additional damage. But hold on, there is more. Let's look at that blue card that I used to pay the cost of this red one. It says, when you discard this card from your hand, deal your base weapon damage. That's another 4 points of damage. With this one attack, we dealt 4 points, plus 3 points, plus 4 points, 11 points of damage with just one attack. Are you kidding me? If you look up here, you'll see that the monster has 10 health. So, wait, did we just kill it by playing 1 card? Sadly, no. This symbol here tells us that for every 5 damage per player the monster takes, that will convert into 1 wound. So our 11 points of damage is actually 1 wound and 1 damage left over, which will turn into another wound when the monster takes another 9 points of damage. This symbol on the stance card tells us that once Viraxen is down to 7 health, he will change his stance and give us all sorts of new problems to deal with. 2 last things on that red card before we move on. Every card you play is going to have this symbol in the top right corner, either with this head filled in gray or in red. If it's gray, nothing is going to change. If it's red, however, you'll need to take the aggro token from the player that has it. This symbolizes you making a move that the monster just can't ignore. It's focusing on you now. And finally, this word, assist. You can discard a card with assist during another player's turn to allow them to draw a card. Maybe they have a big turn with a ton of damage, but they just need one more stamina. Give them an assist and get that big play online. Okay, that was all just for one card, but I swear the rest of the card play is gonna move faster. Green, blue, yellow, done! Okay, I might have overcorrected just a little bit there, so let's slow that down a tad. My second card is this green Empty Fade. I'll pay the 1 stamina with this other green card. Remember, green and yellow cards don't have an immediate effect like the blue and red cards do. Instead, all you've really got to pay attention to is any text on the card. And this one says that the next card I play into my sequence with the keyword / will be free, which is perfect because I have this 2-cost blue card. I'll play it for free because it has / written here in the bottom section of the card. Blue card's innate effect is to remove a struggle, which are these tokens kept by the monster stuff. With less struggle, the monster is less likely to make its biggest, baddest moves. After removing that struggle token, let's take a look at what that card says, and oh, nice, draw 2. Now, with my 2 new cards, I'll play this yellow Balanced Defense, paying with this blue. No inherent effect on the yellow cards, and its effect of reducing the stamina cost of the next card I play by 1 won't have any effect since I'm not going to be playing any more cards. But playing it out is not pointless, because after you're finished playing your cards, we move into the Attrition Phase. Take a look at your sequence of played cards and count up the yellow and green cards that you've played. In my case, that's 2. That's how much defense that I'm going to have against the monster this turn. Flip over the top card of the Attrition deck. If you have the revealed amount or more in defense, you take no damage. Let's see what we've got. 2. So I take nothing. If that attrition card had been a 3, though, I would have taken damage equal to the monster's attack value, which is listed down here. Make sure you keep an eye on this. This number will change from monster to monster and even from phase to phase. When you take damage, put it on either your helm or your armor. When you take damage that meets the total of your helm and your armor, you are so sorry, KO'd. Knocked out players can come back after a few turns of snoozing, but you will do so without one of your pieces of armor, and if you're KO'd again, you're out for the game. Bad. Then you discard your sequence, leaving the last card you played on top of your discard pile. This won't always matter, but some cards will give you additional benefits from being on top of the pile. Draw back up to your hand size of 5, and then the monster turns to face the aggro player if they weren't already. Then it's the next player's turn. Once every player has played out their cards, taken or avoided attrition damage, and then drawn back up to a full hand, the round will end. Why are you looking at me like that? What, you think it's time for the monster phase or something? You scared you're gonna have a bite taken out of you? Well, I kinda lied a little about those player turns. You see, there isn't a dedicated monster does bad stuff to you phase in this game. Instead, the monster does bad stuff to you in reaction to your decisions. At all times, the monster will have 3 behavior cards on its board, with different symbols on the backs. This one means that this card will trigger when a player starts their turn in the front sector. This one will trigger when a player plays any red card. This one triggers at the end of the round, etc., etc. In other words, you know, and can control to some extent, when the monster will do bad stuff to you. But that doesn't make it any less scary. When you trigger one of these behaviors, flip it over and resolve its effects. This one says that each player in Viraxen's front sector must either immediately move or suffer a damage. And after everyone has done that, Viraxen will turn to whichever player has the fewest defensive cards in their hand, and then if that player is threatened, they will suffer additional damage. That sounds bad enough, but I regret to inform you there is more. This part of the card down here says that if the monster's got struggle tokens, they will pay one of those struggle tokens to force all moving players to pay for their movement with green cards, which means if you just happen to not have any green cards in your hand right now, you can't move. You're definitely taking that damage. Oh no, oh dear. All right, that was kind of a lot, but it's also all you need to know, really, to play this game. Don't take too much damage, deal damage until you've dealt 10 wounds to the monster, and do that within 10 rounds. There are a bunch of additional little rules and things to keep in mind, but that foundation is plenty enough for me to talk about my homebrew. While he has his, would we call it fun? I just wanted to take a moment of your time to talk about a pressing issue in the board gaming community. Not being subscribed to this channel. This is a dangerous condition that affects tens of thousands of board gamers every day, so I just wanted to cut in and say, do your part, you know? Subscribe, share this with your friends, save a life. I'm just kidding around. There's no life or death scenario here, but it would be really nice and I would like it. I would appreciate it very much. So if it's no trouble, click that subscribe. If we hit 4,000 by the end of the year, I'll do a jig just for you. So incentive. Back to Big Bad Monsters. Like I mentioned earlier, what I created is an alternate way to play the game. One player will control the monster, and one or more players will control 2 or more hunters. The trick was figuring out how to turn the brilliantly automated monster actions into something that a player could have agency over without that swinging the game too far in the monster's direction. Now, before I explain everything, I will say this variant is winnable, but it is also a challenge for the hunters. So if you've tried things out like upping the monsters level, playing nightmare mode, and you're still looking for more of a challenge, this might be a good way to go. Only a few rules change in this beast mode. For one thing, after one of your behavior cards is triggered, and it will still trigger in the same way in response to the hunter's actions, that card is not automatically filled in as it is in the regular game. The game starts with the board laid out the same way, with 3 behavior cards face down, any stance cards, and any peril cards face up. You will, however, begin the game with 3 cards in your hand. Those are the only overarching rules changes. Everything else has to do with the round structure, so let's take a look at that. The first thing on this round structure card that's new is the behavior refresh step. Usually, you discard one of these cards from the behavior board and fill it back in. In this version, you will take the cards you've got in hand, draw 1 card at the start of this step, and then you can fill in any empty spaces on your board with cards from your hand. Then, in the monster gains 1 struggle per player step, the monster can either do that, gain 1 struggle per player, or spend 1 struggle per player to deal a damage to a player in a vulnerable sector. Vulnerable sectors are determined for players the same way they're determined for the monster, the red zones on the stance card. As normal, things then proceed to the first player's turn. During the attrition phase, the monster player has another choice to make. Either gain 1 struggle per player and use just 1 attrition card as normal, or draw the top 2 attrition cards and use whichever's value is higher. In this step, when the monster would normally turn toward the player with the aggro token, the monster player can instead choose to turn 1 section to the right, or 1 section to the left, or neglect to move altogether to instead draw a card. Finally, at the end of every round, the monster player can either play a card from hand and resolve its effect, or draw a card from their behavior deck. If the monster player chooses to play a card during this end of the round moment, some of their cards may refer to the active player. Treat those cards as saying player with the aggro token instead of active player, since at the end of the round, no player is active. And that is all you need for this mode. I've tried this out quite a few times, and I think it functions pretty dang well. However, it does, if you're playing it right as the monster player, make you a little bit more deadly than the monster is when it is automated. So, to combat this, I have added in an optional variant that you can play with or not. In base Primal, hunters are only allowed to play 5 cards into their sequence. After that, they gotta stop. In this mode, consider just removing that rule altogether. No limit to your sequence. It won't always turn the tide in battle, but it can definitely help. And now I turn this over to you. If you are a proud owner of Primal the Awakening and you've played this game to death, you've seen all the monsters over and over and over again, you want something new, give this mode a try. Let me know in the comments whether you think it's too hard, you think it's too easy, is it fun, does it suck, what do you think? And maybe the biggest thing that I'd like to hear from you is how it feels to play with all of the different monsters. I did my playtesting with Vyraxin and Karja, so I don't know how it feels to play as Big Bad Mr. Crab yet, but don't worry, he's next. I am very open to suggestions on how to improve this mode. You'll notice that I made sure that this is playable without making any new components, but if you have ideas on how to make this more fun, that requires new cardboard tokens, new cards, whatever, let me know. I would love to hear it. The beast mode rules are written out in the description for your convenience, so give it a shot. And finally, for anyone who doesn't believe that I have adequately lived up to the promise of the title of this video, here is what I believe is the most damage that you can do in one attack in Primal the Awakening. Key parameters: this is possible as one single hunter unassisted. No other player needs to play any cards to enable this. This is possible on one turn and one turn alone. You'll be playing as Darion, wielder of a big-ass sword. I've chosen Dragon Claw level 3. I've also chosen his Sword Master Mastery card, a level 3 Ember Axe potion, Serpent Belt, Red Scale Helm, and Frost Armor. Please note, Darion did hold 2 cards in hand at the end of the last round, which gave him 1 stamina token, and earlier in the game, Darion focused his Mastery card. Oh, also he's below half health, which means his health is critical. At the top of the round, during the consume phase, Darion will drink this Ember Axe potion. This potion gives his weapon plus 5 damage until the end of the round, and if the monster is not taken care of by the time Darion starts his next turn, Darion will be KO'd, so it's all or nothing, do or die. At the start of his turn, Darion uses his Frost Armor's ability to add 3 exiled cards into his hand, giving him a whopping hand of 8 cards, and he would have needed to use his Frost Armor's ability earlier in the game to exile those cards, just so you know. Darion is not going to move. He will need all 8 of these cards. The first card that he will play is Rapid Slash. It does nothing yet. The next card he plays is Slash to the Flank, which would cost 1, but his Focused Mastery reduces the cost to 0 and also doubles his base weapon damage until the end of the turn because he played 2 blue cards in sequence. Again, the effects of Slash to the Flank do nothing yet. Next, it is time for a Counter-Strike, which can be paid for with any old card that's got a stamina on it. Doesn't matter which one. Card number 4 is Lacerate, paid for with Dragon Dash. Because the previous card in our sequence was yellow, this attack will inflict Vulnerable. And because the card after Counter-Strike was a red card, this attack will deal an additional 9 points of damage, or 3 times the weapon level, which is 3. The important thing is the next attack, but this red card does deal 38 points of damage. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at, but it is also nothing compared to what's coming. The 5th and final card in Darion's sequence is Dragon Descent, paid for with Retreat. Let's take a moment to figure out just how much damage this attack does. Darion's level 3 Dragon Claw deals a base of 8 damage, doubled to 16 with Darion's Mastery card. Then, the weapon's ability lets Darion spend a stamina token to increase the amount of damage that this attack deals by 12. We are up to 28 points of damage. The Serpent Belt adds 5 because we paid with a green card. The Ember Axe Potion adds 5. The Red Scale Helm adds 3. We are now up to 41 points of damage, but don't order yet because the Dragon Descent card adds an additional 2 times 3, 6 damage for each Slash card that we played in the sequence other than Dragon Descent. That is an additional 18 points of damage, bringing us to 59 points of damage. But that is absolutely nothing because our Lacerate card added Vulnerable, which we can spend to double this damage. 118 points of damage on one single attack. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on Primal in general, my homebrew, or the most busted combo that you have been able to turn off. Genuinely, can you do better than this? I am such a nerd about ridiculous combos. I would love to hear what you got. See you soon.